One, how I control my opponent. I should control my opponent like I'm skydiving. I should imagine that I'm lying on top of my opponent and I'm doing a free fall where my feet and my hands are up and the wind is pushing against me and I'm keeping my weight on it. Brian will tell you I'm very heavy here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to use my heaviness, I'm going to use his sternum as a reference point. My sternum and his sternum are going to be cross. I'm going to be perpendicular to his sternum. I'm not going to be laying to the side. My chest is going to be forming a T on the top of his. My right hip is always going to be in his knee to hold him down. Because, like I said, I want him going away from me, not into me. Into me is correct. Go ahead, Brian. Push in and get your knee in. That is correct jiu-jitsu. Incorrect jiu-jitsu and escape jiu-jitsu is pushing away from me and turtling. That's really what I want him to do. So what's going to happen is I'm going to keep my knee inside my opponent's hip and my right hand or my left hand is going to stay underneath of his head and I'm going to grab him by the shoulder. Nice and tight here. This really helps me control him like a steering wheel. I can stop his escape. I can stop his regard with my right knee. My left hand is controlling his upper body. So you'll see this keeps my right hand very, very loose. I can grab his knee here and I can look to control him, or I can use my right hand to feed my lapel to my own hand, and that's what I'm going to do. So I can sit here and pretend like I'm going to go to the mount. You guys should know this position where I try to go to the mount. I step over my arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach down, I'm going to grab my lapel, and I'm going to pull it out. As I pull it out, I'm going to get it like an arrow. I'm not going to grab it here. I'm going to grab it around so it's like an arrow point. Bill the Grill Cooper, he likes to put it in his mouth and pull it up to get it out from underneath of his belt. It might take a little bit of finagling. But remember, if I'm controlling this guy correctly, try to turn into me, Brian, I can just keep bringing my hand back down and hugging him and not letting him do that as I go to pull my lapel out. As I pull my lapel out, I get it nice and strong and I bring it across and I hold it right at his chest. Just like this, on top. As I hold it on top, you'll notice I can really sit here and crank on this guy. Okay, I get my lapel all the way out and I bring it right over the top of his shoulder. Number one, if you're controlling a guy's head, he's not going to get away from you. So he can turn and move all he wants. I can use this as a control point. If I'm really wanting to be physically strong with him, I'll drive my shoulder into his face and I'll just sit there and squeeze him. Okay, but since we're training partners, we don't do that. I'm going to keep this nice and strong on his neck. The same hand that fed it is going to go to the other side of his body. As I go to this side of his body, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start torquing my wrist underneath of his head and I'm going to start turning. As I turn, I just lay right over the top of his body, you see? You guys see this position? So in competition, what will happen a lot is this guy's going to be just, he doesn't want to get tapped, so he'll put his chin down. Well, he can put his chin down all he wants because this is just really going to hurt. All I'm going to do is just get my shoulder to his face and I'm just going to continue to crank and lay right on his head. So a good side note to finish, let's say I get this to this position and I'm sitting here and I'm pulling up. If I pull up, I'm not getting leverage. What I want to do is straighten my left arm. As I straighten my left arm, I step over his body and I put my weight down. See that? See how fast that goes on? So this is, I'm going to stay nice and light, loose on Brian. I get my arm straight and I put my weight right on top of my opponent's head. As I put it on top of his head, now I start to drop my weight. One more time. This is a killer, by the way. This is a killer move. A lot of times this gi will be out already because of the way you're fighting. Get my hand underneath, I pull my lapel out. I pull it out, I bring it right over the top of his shoulder. This position alone right here is just a control position. He shouldn't be able to get away from you by the way I'm controlling his head. This is the detail you want to get the most. This hand does not stay on the side of his body. It goes to the other side. And now I have a huge leverage point. I don't start yanking this guy. What I do is I straighten my arm and I put my weight to the top of his body. And Understand? Here. Let's give it a try.